Virginia teenager Lauren Carissa Smith was pulled over by the Stafford County Sheriff's Office in December of 2016. While traveling on US Route 1, Smith had reportedly failed to obey a highway sign. The deputy conducting the traffic stop noticed a marijuana grinder and a plastic bag with a green leafy substance in the cup holder between the two front seats of Smith's vehicle. The deputy would report that Smith tried to eat the marijuana in order to get rid of the evidence, but her efforts ultimately proved fruitless. Law enforcement searched her and the vehicle, retrieving a smoking device, pills, and capsules with white powder, identified as Schedule 2 and 4 narcotics. In addition to traffic infraction, the 19-year-old was charged with possession of controlled substances, possession of marijuana, and obstructing justice. Number 6. Amanda Perry. 27-year-old North Carolina woman Laura Ackerson was last seen alive on July the 13th of 2011 in Raleigh. 11 days later, her butchered remains were found in Oyster Creek, roughly 60 miles from Houston, Texas. Ackerson had been involved in a long-running custody dispute with her ex-boyfriend, Grant Hayes. On July the 13th, the woman told an acquaintance that she was heading to her ex's Raleigh apartment to pick up their sons. When Ackerson went missing, the acquaintance alerted the authorities. Hayes was at the time married to a woman named Amanda Perry. An investigation would reveal that they worked together to strangle Ackerson to death when she went to their home. They then dismembered the body with a power saw and stored the remains in a cooler. The couple tried to dissolve them with muriatic acid, but it didn't work, so they resorted to dumping them in a creek near the home of Perry's sister, hoping they would be eaten by alligators. The couple, who had a daughter together, were arrested on July the 25th of 2011 and separated shortly thereafter. Hayes was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Perry, who was in her late 30s at the time of the murder, was tried separately. Her defense maintained that she was coerced into helping her husband dispose of Ackerson's remains and that she'd played no part in the killing. Perry was ultimately convicted on the lesser charges of second-degree murder in North Carolina and given a 13 to 16-year prison sentence. Hayes wasn't prosecuted for disposing of Ackerson's body, and investigators determined that it was Perry who'd proposed trying to feed the remains to alligators. It resulted in further charges and prison time from Texas authorities. In the summer of 2018, the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office announced that 20 years were added to Perry's sentence for tampering with evidence of a human corpse. Number 5. Zipporah Abraham. On a November morning in 2023, Zipporah Abraham was detained by loss prevention officers at a Walmart supercenter in North Miami Beach. The 38-year-old had reportedly tried using counterfeit bills to complete a large purchase. Abraham had a history of theft-related arrests in Miami-Dade County, and the officers recognized her from CCTV footage. During the same Walmart incident, she also filled a storage bin with items totaling $865 and attempted to flee the store without paying for them. As a Miami-Dade Police Department officer carried out the arrest, Abraham was reported to have put $200 worth of counterfeit bills in her mouth and tried swallowing them. Whether she was successful remained unclear, but the attempt took place in full view of law enforcement. The woman was booked at the Turner Guilford Knight Correctional Center on a $10,000 bond after being charged with grand theft and uttering forged bills. Number 4. Kaylee Lynch Firicano. On Easter Sunday, April the 4th of 2021, the family of North Carolina State University student Christina Matos asked law enforcement to perform a welfare check at her Raleigh apartment near the university's campus. After not hearing from her for several days, when officers went to the address, they found 20-year-old Matos's brutalized, lifeless body. An autopsy would reveal that she'd been stabbed 16 times in the neck and that she had 31 cuts to her hands, likely sustained as she struggled to fend off her killer. Matos's husband, Eric Gale Hernandez Mendez, was arrested for the murder. The duo had gotten married less than a week before the incident, but the union was not one of a romantic nature. The man was in the US illegally and had reportedly offered the student $15,000 to marry him so that he could remain in the country. Roughly 2 years after the murder, Matos's former roommate, Kaylee Lynch Firicano, was arrested and charged with felony accessory after the fact to murder and obstructing justice. The specifics of her involvement remained unclear, but according to court documents, she was accused of helping Hernandez Mendez avoid arrest by destroying, disposing, and deleting evidence and providing false information to law enforcement officers to deceive and delay their investigation. She didn't testify at Hernandez Mendez's murder trial. Throughout his legal proceedings, the man maintained his innocence, claiming that he'd witnessed Lynch Fidecano fatally stabbed Matos in the neck. He stated that he agreed to help clean up and conceal the murder, fearing that the roommate would harm his family. The jury, however, concluded that Lynch Fidecano had played no part in the actual killing, and that Hernandez Mendez had been the sole perpetrator. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole in the spring of 2024. At the time, Lynch Fidecano remained on house arrest and awaited her own day in court. Number 3. Susan Monica. Transgender woman Susan Monica, born Stephen Buchanan, served in the US Navy during the Vietnam War. In the aftermath, she began an engineering career, ran a construction business, and bought a 20-acre farm in rural Wimmer, Oregon. 2 handymen successively disappeared after being hired to do work at Monica's farm. 59-year-old Stephen Delacino vanished under mysterious circumstances in 2012 before Robert Haney, aged 56, went missing in September of 2013. When the latter's relatives came asking about him at the farm, Monica told them that he'd quit and found work elsewhere. The family discovered that his tools and some of his clothes were still in a trailer at the farm while his dog was running around the property. The police went to the farm on January the 10th of 2014 after it emerged that the previous month Monica had used Haney's food stamps at a Walmart. Cops found the property in an appalling state as it was filled with piles of garbage, rotting food, animal parts, and industrial waste. Law enforcement initially intended to charge Monica with fraud, but the case took a drastic turn when they came upon a severed human leg on the property. The find prompted an extensive search which produced further human remains, subsequently confirmed as belonging to Delacino and Haney. Both had been shot dead, dismembered, and eaten by pigs. The animals had reportedly been conditioned to have a particular appetite for meat. A former farm resident reported he'd witnessed Monica feed deceased house pets and livestock to the pigs on different occasions. Monica was arrested and provided explanations of how Delacino and Haney had died, but the authorities found her stories to lack credibility. She said that Delacino had tried to steal one of her guns and that she'd shot him in self-defense during a confrontation over the theft. Monica claimed that she'd buried him after finding her pigs eating his remains. The woman told the police that Haney had disappeared from the farm in the summer of 2013. Then in the fall, she supposedly found her pigs engaged in a feeding frenzy on the disemboweled handyman. Monica reported that she shot Haney to put him out of his misery. She offered no explanation for why she'd chopped up the 2 men, failed to contact the police, or why some of Haney's remains were found in plastic bags in her barn after she'd admitted to the 2 killings. Detective Eric Henderson, the case's lead investigator, asked Monica if there were other dead bodies on the property. Henderson later stated, "She told me that if she told me about the 17 others that she would spend the rest of her life in jail." At some point in her videotaped interrogation, Monica was recorded saying, "I do not value human life very much. The only thing wrong with this planet is there's people on it. If it weren't for us, all the other animals, dodo, birds, and whatever would still be here." The video was presented as evidence in court. During her trial, Monica exhibited behavior ranging from erratic to damning. It wasn't clear if she'd transitioned at the time, but she appeared in court donning a variety of wigs, a display which her own defense team described as odd. In spite of having legal representation, she chose to cross-examine Detective Henderson herself. Addressing the jury, Monica loudly proclaimed that she would like to demonstrate how I shot Delacino for 10 seconds, then put her hands together and carried out the demonstration. Additionally, a cellmate testified that Monica had signed a birthday card from the sweetest murderer in Jackson County. The trial only lasted 6 days before Monica was convicted on 2 counts of murder, abuse of a corpse, and identity theft in April of 2015. She was sentenced to 2 consecutive 25-year sentences. Judge Tim Barnack called her a cold-blooded killer, adding, "I don't know how else I can put it. You valued pigs more than you value people." Today's topic was requested by The No One and Scrappy Doo 7887. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Mary Ann DeMetro. On the morning of April the 30th of 2023, Texas woman Mary Ann DeMetro called the San Antonio Police Department to report that her husband, 50-year-old Nick Hallam, had been shot dead. She also claimed to have escaped after the killer, 31-year-old Jose Carlos Alvarez, had held her against her will. The police went to the apartment unit in the 4000 block of Medical Drive and set up a perimeter. Alvarez surrendered peacefully after a brief negotiation, and inside the apartment, law enforcement found Hallam with a fatal gunshot wound to the neck. 30-year-old DeMetro initially told law enforcement that Alvarez had suddenly shot and killed her husband while the three of them were drinking alcohol at the address. The man then supposedly held her hostage. However, after Alvarez was arrested, he made several revelations. He claimed to have shot Hallam in self-defense and that for months he and DeMetro had been having an affair. The man added that she wasn't a victim and that she'd willingly helped him clean up the scene prior to alerting the authorities. Evidence seemed to support his version of events. Footage from a neighbor's doorbell camera captured him and DeMetro moving the body in the apartment complex's hallway. They then dragged it back inside as it proved too heavy for them to lift. The woman didn't appear to be acting under duress, and she was seen outside the home cleaning up blood by herself. Officers obtained a warrant for DeMetro on the felony charge of altering, destroying, or concealing a human corpse. She was arrested at the San Antonio International Airport as she tried to flee the state. The case was ongoing as of the latest information available to the media. Number 1. Leslie Brock. In the summer of 2023, a Florida man resorted to extreme measures to try and avoid a drug possession charge. Deputies from the Flagler County Sheriff's Office pulled over Leslie Brock for a traffic infraction. When they approached his vehicle and shone a flashlight on the suspect, officers saw a torn open baggie in his lap and small white flakes, consistent with cocaine, on his shorts. Brock initially refused to comply with orders to get out of the car, feigning ignorance and claiming that he'd done nothing wrong. As shown in body cam footage, he was removed from the vehicle, pushed against the side of it and handcuffed. Law enforcement quick tested the white powdery substance at the scene and it was confirmed as cocaine. From their interactions with him and the evidence in his car, deputies determined that Brock had tried to dispose of the drugs by eating them. A mixture of spit and cocaine was found on the floor of the vehicle, and a streak of the same mixture was also embedded in Brock's beard. A deputy showed the man the torn baggie, but he still denied having drugs on him, prompting the cop to point out, "Right, 'cause you ate it all." Brock was taken to a hospital in Palm Springs to recover from the effects of ingesting the cocaine. He faced charges of resisting arrest, possession of cocaine, and tampering with evidence. Sheriff Rick Stalley released a statement saying this poison peddler could have died while attempting to conceal his narcotics by swallowing them, and urged other criminals not to follow his example if they got caught with illegal drugs. Thanks for watching. Would you rather do 50 push-ups for every time you said a bad word, or get fined $10 for every time you chewed with your mouth open? Let us know in the comments section below.